Well, that year that I was principal at South Alameda Elementary, Roy was a junior high student at the area junior high. Our second, Rita, was a sixth grader at area elementary. And as a junior high student at Alameda Junior High School, Roy was approached by the wrestling coach. Said, "Hey, you're from Oklahoma?" "Yes." "Come out for wrestling." "Never wrestled." "Yeah, well, if you're from Oklahoma, that's a wrestling area. You're a wrestler." So Roy went out for wrestling and did real well. He got to wrestle his weight for the school. And the afternoon matches were such that I didn't feel like I ought to take time off from this new job, so I never did see him wrestle as an eighth grader. Donna kept telling me, "They aren't going to fire you if you take time to watch your son wrestle." Didn't do it. Wish I had. As I told you on another one, he got injured his very first match as a junior high student at Evergreen Junior, and never was able to make a comeback. Still a good wrestler. But anyway, we had the neighbors there, the Zackersons, and a terrible thing happened not more than a mile and a half from our house over on the Denver side of Sheridan. A young woman found murdered in the basement of her house. Well, that just scared the heck out of a lot of people. Nobody knows what happened. I don't guess we did anything except lock the door, but there was a run on locks and guns and so on. People, you know, she was bludgeoned, evidently beaten with a hammer or some sort of tool. Well, when they finally solved that, evidently a boy about Roy's age. Probably a very young, very saucy, very pretty young woman, the mother next door. Evidently he got a little enamored with her and assaulted her, and then knew he'd done a terrible thing and lost his mind. Picked up something and bludgeoned her to death. Ooh, and they came out following Saturday. I don't know how it happened, what we were getting ready to do, but Roy was with us, and Don and I and Mrs. Zackerson are talking, and she looks at Roy and she said, "I'm sorry, Roy, but you're no longer welcome in my house." Hysteria. Hysteria swept clear through that area, wondering, you know, what in the world goes on in the minds of these young adolescent boys. Well, Roy's mature enough, he wasn't deeply insulted, but, you know, this kind of thing will kind of make everybody sit back and think a little. I think it was after we had lived there that another tragedy up in the mountains, a family up camping, a doctor, the doctor, his wife, and it seems to me like maybe another sibling, killed in a camper. And, you know, he was a little older, he was a high school boy. He went to prison for it. They found him out. Later, when we were in Alamosa, the man who had been his wrestling coach at one of the northern suburbs of Denver is now our next door neighbor, Dr. Peters. And Dr. Peters had been the boy's wrestling coach, and the boy came up for visitations. And here the Peters live next door to us at Alamosa, and we don't know it at the time, but we find out later when Bill Peters tells us when he's visiting us down in Arizona, yes, I had him over for weekends out. I felt he was perfectly harmless. I visited him in prison. I knew he had taken part in going into high schools to talk to kids about resisting being criminals, doing bad things. And by the way, he also told us that that boy is now in another state, has a degree as a physician, and is a practicing physician, just like his father was. You never know. You never know. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been treated in such a way that they decided he was safe to be out in society. But I do know that the youngster that I was afraid was a student of mine at Evergreen Junior High, who took a shot at President Reagan. They still won't let him out. So apparently you can kill your parents and have a better chance of being rehabilitated and considered rehabilitated than if you take a shot at the President of the United States. The times aren't settled now, and they weren't settled then, and they probably never have been as settled as we like to think they are. When we get old, look back, think about how good it was in the good old days.